Okay guys, I'm going to trim my lid for my kimchi fermenting pot. I've placed the lid on here. It's a pretty tight fit. So this part right here will lock into this right here, and the outside will lock into there. So what I do is I actually trim my lid on my pot. Helps me see the final shape. It might be a little tight, might be sponging that a little. So what I do is I put it back on and I go and I center the entire pot. So you guys know I use my pin tool to draw circles. The goal is to end up with only 3 circles. We're a little off, but we're gonna run with it. Attach. Remember to push down on your coils, not in. This pot is pretty dry, but you still want to get into the habit of pushing down, not in, so that if the pot's wet, it won't smush it in. So I'm going to take my big loop tool. Now this is the type of lid that I'm going to attach something to. I'm not going to carve a handle into it. I'm going to create something. Not sure what yet. What I'm looking for is a smooth transition from the outside to the inside. So I don't really love this part right here. So to get that small sort of detail, I'm gonna go in a little bit more. A larger tool would have gouged out the lip of the actual canister. At this point, if you want to get all decorative with the loop tool, you can. If you want to see the trimming lines. Notice I'm pushing down on my pot, although this is going to get rid of those lines. Although I sealed the pot to the wheel head with no bat, it still can fly off at any point. So I always have my hand pushing down on the top. I'm going to trim quite a bit off. I left this one a little thick. Okay, so now, like I said, my goal is to kind of, this is flaring out a little, but I want this to sort of just smoothly go across. We talked about lids yesterday, the ones that kind of do that. I am not a fan. That doesn't mean you can't be, but I'm looking for something that's kind of flat. So then, flip that out, if I can get it out. Now, if you can't get it out, there are ways. You can use a pin tool, wood tool, whatever you want. I'm actually gonna stop. Okay, yes, I did stop the video to get the lid out. So the lid is a little tight now. Do I make the lid smaller or do I trim the lid? I try not to do that. My goal is that maybe the lid shrinks a little bit more in the kiln. If you have a super thin lid, it's definitely going to shrink more than the thick lid. So maybe I take a sponge and wipe some of the clay away just to give it that sort of 1/8 of an inch. But what I want to think about is that when I glaze that lid, if I glaze that lid, that glaze is going to take a little bit, add a little bit to the width of that, to that lid, so it'll be almost a tighter fit or maybe not fit at all. So the glazing is definitely going to be super important, the glazing choices, when I finally glaze my pot. Now I'm really just looking for a smooth transition, maybe fix a little bit of the wonk that I had going on. Remember, I want to carve this pot, so I left it relatively thick and I want the side to be smooth, so I'm not going to use my smaller loop tool because that's going to give me the marks. Now this I want straight, but that wire tool, sometimes you're still going to have thicker parts, so I still, no matter what, put some sort of foot on it, even if it's what I call the fake foot, which is just kind of cleaning it up down across the bottom. And I always make the center a little lower than the sides. Sometimes when your pot is thicker in the middle because of how you threw it, that part will not shrink as much. You'll get a crack, or it'll be taller there. So I just kind of put this sort of fake foot on there. And that's it. Now it's leather hard. It's about the time that I'm going to carve the shit out of it. See you later, guys. So how do we trim these type of lids? I don't want to trim very much, but I do want it to kind of be a little more finished. So even if I have this type of lid, which is a little too small, either I didn't measure correctly or it shrunk more than the rest. I don't know. I don't always understand it. I act like I do. So how do I trim this? It's going to be super difficult to attach this to the wheel. So I put it upside down in the top of my lid, in the top of my pot, and I do the same thing as I would the other type of lid that is right side up. I have it on here. I'm almost using my pot as a chuck to help me hold it in place. It doesn't really have to be centered. I mean, obviously you want it as centered as you can, but we're really just going to clean that up. Attach that. Now keep in mind that when your pot starts to get a little drier, it immediately starts to drink the water of those holding coils. So more than ever, you're going to want to constantly check those because they will loosen up. So when you start hearing that ticking, you want to stop your wheel, take your time to be mindful, and retighten up those coils. And again, I always have my hand right on top, elbows to my body, holding my tool close to the pot in the working area like that. Hands attached. And even for this small little bit of work that I'm doing right here, which I will flip and show you, just kind of cleaning it up, only because that wire tool is not always as clean looking as we'd like. So basically I've just kind of cleaned it up a little just to give it a little bit more of a finish, and then I could do a couple of things. I can try and get it out just by kind of shaking it, or I can let it dry for a little bit, or I can go in with a wood tool or a rib, kind of clean up where I got those things. Just gonna kind of, there we go. That's pretty impressive. Okay, so now you take a soft brush and kind of clean off all these little chachas that are sitting in the gallery. Now we should have a tight fit just like that. And my lid comes right off like that. All right, time to carve.